The night was cold, and the streets were eerily quiet. Lisa, a proud veteran with a past she rarely talked about, walked alone, her presence commanding attention despite her unassuming demeanor. She didn't fit the image of someone who could be a threat. Her warm smile and kind eyes often disarmed people before they knew her story. But tonight, her instincts told her she was being watched. In the shadows, a group of men whispered and pointed, clearly underestimating the woman they thought was just an easy target. They didn't know Lisa's military experience had shaped her into a force to be reckoned with. More importantly, they had no idea she carried a secret, a double life as a CIA operative trained to handle far more dangerous threats. As the men closed in, Lisa paused, her eyes sharp and focused. This wasn't her first time walking into a trap, but it might be theirs. Lisa's heart pounded, but not from fear. She had trained herself to stay calm under pressure. Years ago, after leaving the military, she thought her life of danger was behind her. But the CIA saw something in her, something even she hadn't realized. A sharp mind, quick reflexes, and an ability to blend into any crowd. They offered her a new purpose, and she took it. For years, she operated in the shadows, completing missions most people could never imagine. Now standing in the dimly lit alley, Lisa took a slow breath, assessing her surroundings. The men following her were sloppy, amateurs trying to intimidate the wrong person. But something about their behavior didn't sit right. Who were they? Why target her? She reached for her phone, pretending to text, but instead activated a silent alarm linked to her agency. Help might be on the way, but Lisa knew she couldn't wait for backup. Lisa kept walking, her steps steady, though her mind raced with possibilities. The group was getting closer, their hushed voices barely audible over the sound of her boots on the pavement. She'd dealt with worse, but something about this felt personal. Were they after her because of her past? Or was it a random act of intimidation gone wrong? Either way, they'd underestimated her. As she turned the corner, she caught a glimpse of their reflection in a shop window. 4 of them. Young, reckless, but organized enough to make her wary. She noticed the subtle hand signals they exchanged. This wasn't random. They had a plan. But how did they know her? Her mind flashed to her last mission. A covered-up had gone south, exposing a criminal network with deep ties. Could they be connected? Lisa tightened her grip on the keychain in her pocket, which hid a compact but lethal tool. If this was retaliation, she wasn't about to go down without a fight. Lisa turned into a narrower alley, her movements calculated. To most, it would look like a mistake, a vulnerable woman cornering herself. But to her, it was strategy. Fewer exits meant fewer angles to watch. She slowed her pace just enough to let the men think they had her exactly where they wanted. Their footsteps grew louder, echoing against the brick walls. Lisa's mind pieced together every detail. The way one of them carried himself like he was in charge, the way another kept checking his surroundings nervously. She felt the weight of the keychain in her hand. It wasn't much, but she knew how to make it count. Suddenly, she heard a low voice from behind. "You've been a hard one to find, Lisa." Her stomach tightened. They weren't guessing who she was. They knew. She spun around, heart racing. Who were they really? And how deep did this go? Lisa's grip on the keychain tightened as she faced the man who had spoken. He stepped forward, his face partially obscured by shadows. The other men hung back, forming a loose semicircle to block any escape. "We know who you are," the man continued, his tone smug. "You think your past is buried, but you've made enemies, Lisa. Powerful ones." Her pulse quickened, but she kept her expression neutral. This wasn't just a random gang looking for trouble. They'd been sent. But by who, and why now? "Seems like you've got me confused with someone else," she said evenly, stalling for time. The man laughed, low and cold. "You can drop the act. We know you were in Caracas. The file wasn't easy to find, but let's just say, someone very important wants you gone." Lisa's stomach dropped. Caracas was classified, buried deep in her CIA record. If they knew about it, this wasn't just personal, it was an inside leak. Lisa's mind raced. If there was a leak, it meant someone inside the agency wanted her silenced. She glanced around, gauging her options. The man smirked, mistaking her silence for fear. "It's over, Lisa. You're outnumbered, and no one's coming to save you." But he was wrong. Just as he raised his hand to signal his crew, Lisa pressed a hidden button on her keychain. Instantly, a high-pitched alarm echoed through the alley, disorienting the group. She lunged, taking the leader by surprise with a swift strike to his throat. As he stumbled back, gasping, she disarmed another attacker with a precise kick, sending his weapon skidding across the pavement. The chaos was deafening, but Lisa's training took over. Within moments, she had the group subdued, except for the leader, who was clutching his neck, glaring at her. "You think this ends here?" he rasped. "You're just a pawn in something bigger." Lisa froze as she heard a distant sound, sirens. Backup had arrived, but his words lingered. Was this just the beginning? As the authorities cuffed the gang, Lisa slipped away, knowing she needed to uncover the truth about who betrayed her before it was too late. As Lisa slipped into the night, her thoughts were anything but calm. The gang was just the surface, puppets for someone pulling strings from the shadows. She knew she couldn't let her guard down, not until she uncovered who had sold her out. Hours later, safe in her small, unassuming apartment, Lisa reviewed every detail of the night. The leader's words replayed in her mind. A pawn in something bigger. It wasn't just revenge or loose ends, it was a calculated move against her. Pulling out a secure device, she logged into a classified system. Her eyes scanned mission reports, names, and connections, searching for anything that might point to the leak. As dawn broke, Lisa leaned back, determination etched on her face. The fight wasn't over, but she wasn't scared. They had come for her once, and she'd been ready. Next time, she'd be the one hunting. The game had just begun.